Okay, we are, we'll call the first public hearing to order. We have two public hearings tonight before we begin our regular school board meeting. And the first public hearing is to expend funds for the purpose of purchasing from the Equipment Capital Reserve Trust Fund for the 2022-23 fiscal year for the purchase of a replacement vehicle. Tim, would you like to tell us about that vehicle, please?
So as it says in the justification, this is a year for vehicle replacement in our rotation. So the requests, and it's been budgeted for in the CIP plan. So this is a request to replace a 2008 van with a brand new pickup truck. We competitively priced it. And as I made note, it's very difficult trying to find similar vehicles given the supply chain shortages. But we got competitive pricing, and it turned out to be to purchase the truck minus the trade-in and rebates would be essentially $43,000. We budgeted 48. I would like to request that we have up to 48,000 because I need to outfit the vehicle with toolboxes and ladder racks and such. I suspect we won't be close to the 48,000, but I'd like to ask for it in full.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion. Do we have motion before first? Okay. Okay. Does the public have any questions about the proposal, the request for the expenditure from the Capital Reserve Fund? We have two members of the public. Okay, thank you. Okay, so if there are no questions from the public or comments from the public, we will entertain a motion.
I move forward the request by Mr. Grassi as presented.
Okay, the request was for $48,000, up to $48,000 from the Equipment Capital Reserve Trust Fund. Okay, thank you. Moved by Dick and seconded by Alan. Any discussion from the board? Okay, seeing if there's no discussion forthcoming, we'll take a vote. How many are in favor?
Aye.
Okay, are there any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, that passed, the expenditure passes. Thank you, Tim. We'll close the public hearing now for this Capital Reserve Fund expenditure. And we will open the next public hearing on the increase of appropriations, unexpected increase of appropriations for the 2022-23 school year budget. And this unexpected increase of appropriations came from the special, the purpose was to offset local taxation based on the district's receipt of additional adequacy funding in the form of extraordinary need grant pursuant to Senate Bill 420. I don't think we can have any comments from the public yet, can we?
Would you like me to explain it first?
Yes.
Okay, so first we have unanticipated revenue in the amount of $131,075.16. That revenue, it was unanticipated and came in the form of extraordinary needs grants. So the first thing the board needs to decide to do is whether or not to accept them. The second thing you have to do is, which I would recommend that you do accept them. The second thing you need to do is decide whether or not, you may or may not have heard about SB 420, and that is whether or not you want to, rather than the initial intent of SB 420 was for these dollars to go back to the towns. It was the initial intent. There was some comments and requests to spend those dollars on behalf of some school districts. Conval was not one of those districts. And in doing so, you would then, if you took the unanticipated revenue and decided to spend it, you would be actually you would be appropriating those dollars. In this case, not in any other case of unanticipated revenue, but in this case, because the original intention of the legislation was for it to go back to the towns, within the law, there is a truncated or abbreviated, but formal need to hold a special meeting in order to appropriate the funds. It is the strong recommendation of the administration that you accept the unanticipated revenue, but that you return that unanticipated revenue to the towns and that you do not appropriate the dollars. So I'll stop there. And I am happy to answer questions or hear comments from the community.
Okay, we'll start with the community. Any comments from the community? Thank you. So do I have a motion on the floor to accept the funds first of all, and then we can have a discussion?
I move we accept the funds as presented with the understanding they'll return back to the communities.
Okay, the motion on the floor is that we accept the funds, number one, and then, at the same time, turn them back to I believe it's 5 communities? Four communities that they were appropriated to. And it was seconded by Kevin. So now, is there any discussion from the board? Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Uh,
I have a quick question.
Okay, Jim?
Is it kosher to combine the two motions, or should be, can be two motions, one to accept the funds and one to return to town? I know I'm gonna vote to accept and return to town, but I don't know procedurally if it's correct to combine the two.
Yeah.
I don't see why it would be bad, but
Yeah.
I can understand your point of view and would suggest that separating them might be wise. I don't know that there would be a problem, but there's a lot of eyes on the money.
Just a comment, there is both a time delay associated with having a special meeting to not return to the towns, and there's cost associated with that too. So it just doesn't make sense to not return to town. So I'd like Dick to consider revising his amendment or his, motion to do a separate motion.
Would you be interested?
I'll
Dick, in-
withdraw my motion. If the second will take,
I'll withdraw my second.
Okay,
okay. My motion will be to accept the funds as presented.
Second.
okay. The motion is to accept the funds. It was seconded.
It's $131,075.16. Antrim is $38,046.08. Bennington is $27,709.96. Greenfield is $19,497.29, and Peterborough is $45,821.83. Oops, mistaken.
Okay,
I'm not sure this is in order, but I'm interested in what Mr. Borden is.
I think Mr. Borden was asking that we return them to the town. Is that correct, Mr. Borden?
That is the state. Thank you.
Okay. So, any discussion on the first motion of accepting the funds? Okay, then we can entertain a motion, for the second half of,
We have to vote on the first one.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, now we can entertain a motion to,
I move to return the extraordinary need funds to the towns.
okay,
Second.
okay, motion by Jim and seconded by Steve to, return the appropriation to the relative towns. All in favor? Oh, wait a minute, question?
Is there, other than the school district using that funds for something, is there something else that we should know about these funds? Like if we get these funds,
Well-
it also does something, I don't know, I'm just making sure I
So,
understand everything.
so the state of New Hampshire, so I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. The state of New Hampshire has in several different ways, tried to, avoid any increase to base adequacy, except minimal increases. Talking like $100 one year, maybe $50 another. And one way they have done that is through differentiated aid, stabilization, and now this extraordinary needs grant. What this does is it provides dollars to those towns that have who are considered the poorest, specifically in their ability to raise taxes. And they've done this across the state of New Hampshire. And what that does is provide some relief for the fact that adequacy is not adequate, and continues the ongoing issue of the reason that we don't get enough money is because base adequacy is not sufficient, and it allows them to move that money around, and increase it or decrease it. It doesn't get increased a whole lot, as they are either have funds available or have other things they want to do with those dollars, including, for instance, education freedom accounts.
Is there any other questions or discussion over the, sending the appropriation, to the towns? Then we'll have a vote. All in favor? Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes and the appropriation goes back to the towns. You're welcome.
Thanks for coming, Mike.
The next thing on now we have to open the meeting, so we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The public hearing is now closed. Okay, so points of pride is the first thing on our agenda tonight. Superintendent?
Okay. So, just to give everybody a heads up, on October 27th, Antrim Elementary School will be hosting a family literacy night. So I hope everyone can make that. They call it the Eagle Extravaganza. Pierce is preparing for a Black Bear Day, the 28th, where students will focus on fall activities. Last week, DCS enjoyed the traditional walk to school and their harvest dinner open house. They were thrilled to welcome about 200 family members and students into the building to share a wonderful meal and visit the classrooms. At HES, they're excited. They're getting ready for Halloween parade. So you will hear lots about Halloween parades at all of our schools. At FBS, grade 3 and 4 are getting ready to attend a field trip to Great Bay on the 27th. GES staff and students preparing for Pizza Pumpkin Palooza. At the end of the month, each class decorates a pumpkin and they raffle them off during family math night. SMS 2022 girls cross country A and B teams won the A and B divisions of the Tri-County League's Division III cross country championship on Saturday. GBS, the Harris Center is working with the 5th grade science classes this week and the 8th grade classes next week. The 8th graders are involved in collecting data for an ecological water quality study on local bodies of water. This is the week for GBS field hockey, soccer, and cross country. They have home competitions on Wednesday, tomorrow, and Friday. The VEX Robotics Club is preparing for their first tournament on November 19th in Candia, New Hampshire. And I would just remind everyone that they went to nationals last year. And at the high school, congratulations to the Conval High School students who were recently accepted into the January 2023 Monadnock Valley Music Festival. The students qualified based on their high achievement in music and music performance. Representing Conval in this festival will be Zach Cassidy, Rowana Davidson, Esther Janis, Hattie Lansarek, Bo Oleski, Nick Parker, Rex Schwab, Bella Stelly, Avery Swayze, and Liza Lazaya Torres. Representing Conval in the festival for band will be Damian Allen, Clara Christensen, Josh Decker, Miranda Ellis, Lily Ures, Kieran Kelly, Nathan Colin, Audra Kratzenberg, Sophia Lake, Hannah Lehigh, Ben Michaud, Gavin Minkler, Mackenzie Mullen, Matthew Palmer, Gabby Ramsden, and Dominique Tradella. So those are our points of pride today.
Thank you, Superintendent. A lot to be proud of. The next thing on our agenda is our first public comment period, and we always like to hear from the public. It's not a dialogue, but we always like to hear what the public has to say. We ask you to abide by our policy, and you have 2 minutes to speak. If you feel that you need more time, the board can vote to give you another 2 minutes. Please make sure you turn the microphone on.
Hi, am I on?
If is a little green light on,
The green light is on.
then you're on.
Okay. Kimberly Markham, I live in Dublin, and I want to thank the members of the board and the district administration for being here and all you do. My husband Jesse and I have 2 kids in the district, a daughter in 5th grade here at SMS and a son in 2nd grade at DCS. And we are very grateful to be a part of the district and have been very happy with the education our kids have been getting to this point in their journey through Conval in the district. Both of our kids have thrived during the past couple of years, during the challenging pandemic years. And we owe our thanks to the amazing staff at DCS and the community there, the culture of the education, the care, and the community at the school gives strength to the students, their families, and kind of flows out into the town of Dublin. So as the board is working to put together the budget for the next year, I ask for a few things to be kept in mind. Please consider the fact that DCS and HES sharing a principal that we're very excited to have, is a tough situation for the school, the two schools involved, the principal, the students, and the staff. In the case of DCS, we are very blessed to have a wonderful, capable administrative assistant. And I can't speak for Hancock because I don't necessarily know their school, but at DCS, our administrative assistant does so much for the students, the family, the staff, and on top of being her normal responsibilities, she's filling the role as school nurse and covering other bases when our principal is not at the school. So it's no secret that there are some people on the board that may be in favor of consolidation or closing smaller schools. That would be great if you don't mind. Okay, thank you. I would just ask that the board consider to solicit other viewpoints from the community. We were told that decisions regarding the shared principal and not giving Dublin a preschool were issues of budget and equity. However, it feels as though some of these are strategic actions kind of designed to weaken the smaller schools and advance an agenda of consolidation. So as you're putting the budget together, and I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than I can even imagine, and you're taking lots into consideration, just ask that you consider supporting the small schools, the finances of the small schools as much as possible. And thank you for all that you do. Thanks.
Thank you so much. There'll be a second period of public comment at the, towards the end of the meeting. The consent agenda, which includes the acceptance, the school board meeting minutes from October 4th and the personnel. There is a resignation. Was it just one? Just one resignation? And the co-curricular notifications. Are there any questions? Kevin?
I was wondering if you could kind of explain the situation around the resignation. If
I'm happy to do that in non-public.
Pardon?
I'm happy to answer questions regarding the resignation of an individual in non-public.
in non-public. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Do you go into non-public?
Yeah. We're going in. Ellen, you want to send us into non-public?
Oh, sure.
Second. Moved by Alan, seconded by Liz. Krista, do you want to start? Janine? Okay.
So the only people
Sure.
that Just don't snooze. We're soft and squishy.
Yeah.
I move we seal the minutes of non-public for 5 years. Second.
Do I hear a second? Okay, moved by Dick. Oh, I'm sorry, Greg, did you second? Okay, second by Greg, because he doesn't feel that.
It's not on yet. Back on.
It's not? Yep,
No,
there it is.
Now all of a sudden it's back on.
Okay.
I think there's a delay.
Okay, so the consent agenda, are we ready to? Oh, we just did. Oh, we didn't vote. Okay, the vote on the, how many are the, I can't remember what to
Favor.
say. All in favor of sealing the minutes for 5 years from our non-public? Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay. The consent agenda, are there any further questions on the consent agenda? Okay, the consent agenda is accepted. We're on to the superintendent's report and presentation of business school board requests.
So the only outstanding request I know is actually in regards to the shared principal, and that will be discussed during the budget. And then the monthly events calendar. If you turn to your monthly events calendar, just a reminder that we have the November 5th. We start here at 8:30 and we present the administration's budget. That is a work session, not a meeting. It says 8:30 here. Apparently, we are looking for your input on 8:30 because Brenda decided 8:30. 8:30 works for me. How about everyone else?
Start early, end early.
That's right. That's what I do. Like if Brenda says this is where you have to be, that's where I go. So I would just ask if there is anything you want to add to October or November that you let us know. And we have some public hearings that we need to schedule. November 15th regarding the PES roof and, oh, everyone's favorite, the parking lot at the high school. And,
That's on November 15th.
yes. November 15th.
Two separate, but
Yeah,
they'll
we need
both
to-
be on November 15th before the meeting.
So that, November 15th. So it is, there's a public, so that will be immediately before the school board meeting. Ooh, all those words. And that is the superintendent's presentation.
Okay, now we're on to reports, and we have our student representative, Catherine Craig.
Thank you. Okay, so here are the things that are going on at Conval recently. Words in sports, volleyball, girls varsity volleyball won their pink night last night, and we saw lots of school and community spirit, which was really great to see. Football pink night was Friday with lots of great plays, especially at the end. Tonight, actually, starting at 6, the boys soccer team played their senior night, so I hope that's going well. And there are also a lot of other senior nights coming up, and there's info on the website about those. Let's take a look. Austrians are here. We have an exchange program with, I think, Salzburg. And they're all very excited to be here. And they're here with their 2 teachers and are attending classes with host students and enjoying activities. And they're here from this past Saturday until Tuesday, November 1st. We have quite a few. I see them all around. Yeah. So that's good to see. Wow. That's a lot. Well, yes, so that's happening. We have flyers around the school for crisis text lines for 24/7 mental health support. To access that, text HOME to 74174. Other news and counseling. Counseling hosted a financial aid information session recently. NHS 7 Bake Sale Friday, and theater production of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None is going very well. And the performances are on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of November, and there's more info on the website. And reminder, end of quarter is October 28th. Oh, one last thing. Eric McGrath won Player of the Week for the varsity football team, so congratulations to him, and wishing speedy recovery from his injuries.
Where's the bake sale? When is it?
You know,
love
I
bake
I
sales.
didn't write down a time, but
Oh.
I know it's this Friday.
Oh, it's this Friday. Okay,
Yes.
let me write that down.
It should be on the website.
Okay. All right, thank you, Catherine. Do we have a teacher representative that wants to give us a report? No. Okay, then we move on to Budget and Property Committee. Jim?
So I'd like to refer everybody to the first ever Budget and Property Committee report. It's on the board website. Hopefully, I've had a chance to look at it. I'm not gonna read it. I'm just gonna summarize it. The main thing we talked about, we've already gone through some of the trust fund, public hearings, we've heard about others to be scheduled. But one of the main things we talked about is the capital improvement plan and how much to include in the fiscal year 24 budget, how much we want to put in trust funds and how much we want to decide later. So when it's November 5th, you're going to see a budget that should include approximately $460,000 in the capital improvements, which is the same as we spent last year, are spending this year, because in the approved budget. You're going to see a lot of other stuff, recommendations, trust funds, and then you're going to see about $1 million from the high school parking lot. One of the things we're going to be doing on November 15th is we'll be requesting funding using the capital reserve fund to do an engineering study to design what needs to be done in the parking lot. There's a tremendous surface area there that's going to require, I guess there's some new regulations. Tim can provide some details if you want. But there's some new requirements that require some sort of drainage system that we don't have right now. We in fact, do the parking lot, which we have to do. So one of the big things we're going to need to talk about at the budget meetings and subsequently is how to handle the cost of the parking lot. And the cost is large, very large, about $1 million. Look at all the parking lots we need to do. The other thing we talked about was we didn't have any recommendations or action items, but we talked about the RFI for the consolidation and reconfiguration. We talked a little bit about what the proposed potential changes in regional TP agreements and funding. But the most important thing I think that came out of that is that and I want to make sure the public understands this too, is that we're close to entering a contract with the architect engineer to do conceptual design work for the 2 middle schools, the high school, and the CPE. And that is going to be one of the items at the public forum here in a week or so. I guess next week, actually, 2 or 3 weeks from now, November 9th, I think it is. And we're going to require public participation on the committee itself. We're going to need to decide who's on the board, who the board sits in the committee, and then we're going to need to make sure the public understands there's going to be a lot of opportunity to participate in the process. So if you talk to your constituents, make sure they understand that this is going to be a very flexible process, and the idea is to listen to everybody's ideas. The next item we talked about fiscal year 22 audit. There's 3 things that are going to impact the tax. One is how much we return to taxpayers after fiscal year 22. I think Lori's going to present that number late in a few minutes here. We already talked about the extraordinary need grant. That $131,000 is going back. It's also, we're going to need to have another public hearing on whether to accept unanticipated revenues and the return of funds from the New Hampshire retirement system. I feel what date we talked about in that one. Kimberly, do we have a date for that hearing?
So we actually got a number today that is about $50,000 less than we actually initially anticipated based on our calculations. So we'll be contacting New Hampshire Retirement tomorrow to find out why that is. And as soon as that's done, we'll set that hearing up. As soon as we know why we're $50,000 less than what we thought. That $50,000 that's a lot of money, to be short. I mean, if we were off by, 10 grand, we might go, okay, that was math error, or a misunderstanding, but $50,000 is significant.
I gotta skip the last item. We're still working on the budget process document. Captain and Lori are working on a combination of policies, which will kind of touch a lot of what we do on the financial side of the school board operations and district operations, I should say. And more on that later. But one thing we do, I think we need to talk about right now is at the last board meeting, I was not there. You guys talked about the budget guide. And it was clear to me exactly what kind of direction we should be giving Kimberly when she puts together a budget. So we talked about it, budget property, and because the budget guidance talks about the six full, I've already mentioned the $462,000 that's going to be in. That if we approve the change, this clarification, the budget guidance, Kimberly will include $463,000 worth of capital improvements, which Tim and Lori Memphis already identified that need to be done. So, I think, I don't know if we need a vote on that, or if somebody wants to, I don't know procedurally how we go ahead with that. I mean,
I think that would be part of our deliberations on November 5th.
well, she needs the guidance now.
But we gave you the guidance. We gave
If
you the
you want the
guidance.
that to be included, then I will consider it part of the guidance. It's already being included in the budget
The only
as I'm
case-
developing it.
the only case- but because the minutes were not clear exactly how much to include, so this change in the budget guidance, which is in the board package, says specifically to include $462,000, which is the same amount as last year. And everybody talked about and agreed that maintain the status quo, and that applies to capital improvements too.
Okay.
Okay. Dick,
I think it was made clear that you operate on the budget you had the previous year. And this $426,000 was there. So I think that's clear. I think you knew that. So I'm not sure. Yeah. So if that clarifies it more, all the better. But I don't think we need a vote on what we already agreed to do.
right. Okay,
But this does eliminate it clarifies what it does. Minutes weren't clear. It's exactly how much to include, so I'm good with this, with leaving it as is. Kimberly will just accept it, present the budget on November 5th according to this clarification. But
I'm good.
okay, we're good with that, Jim.
to ask a question, how going forward, how do we want to, now it's gonna have these committee reports. Do you want us to go through them and read them or summarize them or what? I mean, I'm assuming people will have had a chance to look at them before the meeting.
Yes, I think that you did exactly what we were envisioning, that you picked out the larger points and especially if there is a board vote required on something or a board action required, then pull that out and you'll have to talk a little more about that before we can talk. But it's good that you put it in. It was in early enough so people can look at it and they can also go after the fact and look at it. The education committee report is also in there, I think. That meeting was just last night, but that report is also in there. There were no board actions in that report, but it does give people the opportunity to go back and look at that report to see what happened in the education committee so that you can stop. It's in the folder for this particular meeting. So it's good to see how those work. So thank you, Jim. Good job. Does that answer your question, Jim?
Yeah, Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody had an opportunity to weigh in.
Yeah. Okay, next is the Education Committee. Steve?
In preparing my presentation about the Education Committee meeting last night, I had to choose between paraphrasing the slipshod, barely intelligible notes taken by the marginally qualified chair and the lucid, comprehensive notes taken by Dr. Forrest. I have chosen to paraphrase Dr. Forrest's report, and I will read it. Last night's meeting of the Education Committee concentrated on learning recovery programs at the high school level. Our two presenters, Jennifer Kiley and Elizabeth Moore, updated committee members on summer programming at the high school. Summer 2022 courses were aimed at providing students with opportunities to, one, earn graduate requirement credits, which in turn allow for schedule flexibility during the school year, two, recover credits lost from failed courses during the school year, and three, increase student skills in content areas. Summer Academy courses are 2 hours long, 4 days a week, for 5 weeks. 81 students were enrolled in the 2022 Summer Academy courses. 22 students were seeking credit recovery. 34 students were taking a course for the first time, and 25 students were doing both. Elizabeth Moore, who has taught in the Summer Academy since it started, stated that this summer more students attended for the purpose of credit recovery than ever before. She also indicated that a number of students benefited from the opportunity to combine credit recovery with an enrichment course such as 3D art, jewelry making, ceramics, introduction to theater, and personal fitness. Questions were raised about what happens when a student masters some, but not all of the competencies needed to recover a credit. Each course has identified priority standards that students must master before a credit can be awarded. Teachers track individual students' progress. The number of priority standards that a student still needs to master determine the next step in the learning recovery process. For example, if at the end of Summer Academy, a student only has a couple of priority standards that still need to be met, the teacher would likely work with the students during tasks to finish up. On the other hand, if a student still needs to meet most of the identified standards, the students would have to retake the course during the school year. The plan for the 2023 Summer Academy is to continue offering opportunities for both credit recovery and enrichment. Areas identified for improvement include initiating the planning and communication processes in January, coordinating the schedules of middle and high school students, and developing alternative credit-bearing curricular offerings such as geometry and construction. At this time, no board action was deemed needed. And that's my report.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
It was a very interesting meeting. Next is Policy Committee, and by the way, that report is in the folder for tonight's meeting, so that if you'd like to take a look at exactly how summer school was conducted and what the numbers were, it's really pretty interesting. It was very impressive. Policy Committee?
So we are going to be bringing one policy to board members. Sorry, thank you. So we are going to, we're going to look at that some more on our own and then come back next meeting. And also at next meeting, we're going to have our meeting with the principals at the high school and the middle schools about dress code. So that will be a very good meeting. If anybody would like to come and attend, it's open. 6 p.m.
Thank you, Krista. And we're gonna have to do your reports a little bit differently. Remind me when I come to get apples tomorrow to talk to you about that. Okay, old business legislative update. Do you have anything?
So LSRs are, sorry, legislative service requests are coming in fast and furious. We will see more after the election. We would anticipate that it will be another busy year on the educational front. You want to share about your letter?
Yeah, so I got an immediate response from, yes, from Karen Umberger, the chair of the Finance Committee, about House Bill 1221. And she said that they will be considering the request that they continue that 7.5%. Well, I didn't say forever, but will you continue this? They'll be considering that when they start developing the budget at the end of January, the beginning of February. So it's a little bit of positive.
Janine,
Yes,
it was only 11 years ago during the first year of Bill O'Brien's speakership, that the state was providing 35-40% of the pension costs for municipalities. So I'm very happy about the 7.5%, but just 11 years ago, the state was really making a major contribution to pensions expenses, and it decided not to do that.
Yep. Okay, new business, RFI update. Yeah, I think and I still think we should. So we do have a little bit of progress on the RFI, but we're gonna hold off until the deadline, and then we'll bring everything back to the board. So next is the expense and encumbrances.
Okay, this was included in your packet, and as I promised, when we hit September, our salary lines and benefit lines are looking more in order as we finished with staffing changes. I don't really have any additional notes. So again, we're going to continue to watch energy costs as we enter into the heating season.
Except the,
Yeah, I move we approve the expense and encumbrance report as presented on pages 9 through 11.
okay, motion by Dick. Second by Greg. All in favor? Any nays? Any abstentions? Unanimous. And we have a field trip proposal for South Meadow School. The 8th grade students travel to Washington DC from April 17th to the 21st, 2023 as part of the 8th grade curriculum for social studies.
I move we accept the proposal.
Okay, motion by Dick and second by Kevin. Any discussion? All in favor? Any nays? Any abstentions? Unanimous approval. Okay, and then next we have position justifications. That was on page 13 of your board materials. Kimberly, did you want to speak to that?
So, these are additions for paraprofessionals directly related to, individual education plans. Yep, can't add positions without a board vote.
I move that we approve the additions.
Second.
Okay, motion by Kevin, second by Dick. Any discussion?
Isn't this legally mandated? I mean, we don't have any choice about this.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Well, you always have choice. The board could choose not to appropriate the money, but then what we would do, if you did that, is then we would have to find another way to pay for those pieces. So if you said, no, you can't, then we would have to, I don't know where we would find the money, but we would have to figure it out.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? board passes the motion unanimously to just accept those positions. And this brings us to, oh, Kevin.
I'm guessing this fits into new business. And I was wondering if we could have an update on what the consequences of the challenges with bus drivers have been. I've gotten phone calls and scuttlebutt, so I'm wondering what the impact of our challenges with bus drivers have been on our co-curricular program or anything else.
So we have had to get transportation from other places. So for instance, the town of Peterborough, thank you, town of Peterborough, very much for allowing us to use the recreation band for golf. But most of them we have managed to, through a variety of ongoing juggling. Thank you, Mr. Proctor, our new athletic director, and Lori, who is the liaison with Bus Company, managed to not have to cancel any athletic events, but we have had to juggle transportation. More pressing has been a couple of bus drivers actually who have been not able to work for some personal familial reasons, and that has put us in a pinch with actually a bus route and special ed transportation, and we continue to work on that. If people are concerned about busing, if it has to do with athletics, they should at the high school, they should contact Mr. Proctor first, then Lori. If it has to do with transportation in general, they should contact Lori directly. And if it has to do with special ed transportation, they should begin with Ben and then go to Lori. Ben is smiling in the back there. So, there's not enough bus drivers. As I offered last year, if there is anyone in our viewing audience that would like to become a bus driver, we would consider helping you achieve that. So, or a substitute teacher, Dr. Forrest whispered in my ear. Thank you so much.
Okay, that brings us to our second period of public comment. We still have our member of the public. Thank you for hanging in there. Again, we always enjoy hearing from the public. If you would like to make another comment, you're free to do that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay, so then that brings us to approval of the manifests.
All right, I certify that the manifests totaling $2,612,958.35 have been reviewed by me and found to be proper charges against Catucket Valley School District for goods and or services received and have been properly processed prior to their submittal to the school board.
I move we approve the manifest as presented.
Moved and seconded. Dick and Jim. Alan. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any names? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Okay, so we do have one short non-public session.
I move that we go into non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral II.
I was just thinking the same thing, like, that was very.
Krista?
Dick?
Steve, I think.
Alan.
Janine?
There's so many people.
Liz.
Okay.